Yeah.
Hi guys, we're live on Facebook and we're going to do a moderated author presentation here at Magic City Books in just a second. Colton's my interviewer. Colton works here at Magic City and we're going to let him get started. Thanks for joining us.
So, tell us about yourself.
So, I am the assistant dean at the University of Tulsa over the online programs. I run an online master's degree program there. And I've always had an interest in writing. I've loved sci-fi. And finally just sat down one day and decided, let's do this. And I wrote a short story, and I enjoyed it. And I wrote another one, and finally decided, let's pull this together and make a book.
So, coming out of a law background, how long have you been dreaming about writing a set of stories?
I would say even in high school I thought about writing, being an author, played around with it a little bit, just didn't push through that point.
Cool. So what you ended up with was Living Portals, collection of short stories. Tell us about this book, or this collection of stories.
So the main protagonist in the short stories is Tom Tedesco. He's an adventuresome kind of a guy. He likes to do things like go live in the Arctic just to show people that he can. And along the way, while he's doing that, he discovers a portal between worlds and ultimately finds out there's a reason for them. And there are several versions of Tom as you read through the stories, some older, some younger, and they have to interact with each other and at a certain point come together.
Cool. Why did you pick a short story format over a novel or some other?
Sure. So, the first couple of times I sat down, I just wrote short stories and they just came out and I enjoyed writing them. It was easy. I felt comfortable with the style and the format. And then after I had about 4 or 5 of them, I had a decision to make, which was, do I try to then blend these together and convert them into a novel, which I was comfortable doing if that's what I had to do. But I got to thinking about it and realized, we're in a modern world that's really busy where people are pushed for their time. And I thought, why not just release it as a set of 8 short stories, even though there is a little bit of an overarching story across at least the first 6. I decided that the format worked for modern times, and let's give it a try.
Well, a lot of classic science fiction comes from original magazines back in the 20s, 50s.
Yeah.
So, do you draw inspiration from that era, or where do you think your inspiration comes from?
Absolutely, I do. I'm a big fan of Edgar Rice Burroughs and the John Carter of Mars books. But even as a kid, I watched Lost in Space, which is very much, even though it was made in the 60s, very much a 50s style of sci-fi. It's campy and fun and adventuresome. And then I got into Star Trek and Star Wars, which is a bit of a space soap opera. Mm-hmm. And so they're all sort of similar, and I connect with that genre and that feeling.
But at the same time, after reading this, I've noticed you kind of include some, not necessarily comedy, but almost like irony and just surprising elements that you do find in this genre, but not often. So, yeah. What do you think kind of influences that element and kind of the puzzling, mysterious elements of your stories?
Sure. Well, people that have known me for a long time would say that I'm a quirky person. I get that, and I'm okay with that about myself. I'm different. And so, of course, I expect my writing to convey that to some degree. It comes across as quirky, different, offbeat. And if that gives people some comfort because it's something relatable or at least entertaining, then I'm happy with that.
Cool. And so the more mysterious elements, do you think your background in law kind of influences how you see your plots or see?
I think the background in law probably just helps with research and maybe being analytical as I plot along with things. But the mystery element, it's probably just because that's what I enjoyed as a kid. I definitely liked Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew when I was a kid. I read both. Mm-hmm. Loved them both.
Yeah, they're still around today.
Yes.
I grew up on those. Yeah. So tell us about some of your characters like Tom and Helga.
Sure. Sure. So, as I mentioned, Tom Tedesco, he's an adventure-seeking guy. In almost every version of him that you meet in the different universes, he is somewhat analytical, science-based or engineering-based guy, and that helps him with regard to sorting out, how to, cross the portals. The most scientific one learns how to call them or respond to them. Helga's just a little bit of an adventuresome spirit that likes to ride along with the adventure, but she carries a blaster in a couple of the episodes and shoots some people, And probably the most fun person to write in the story was Melanie, and I'm not going to give away the secrets about Melanie, but I would just say that she's a tough lady who protects the portals.
So, what do you see in your future as an author?
Well, I definitely want to write a sequel. I could do another one where it's a set of short stories, but I think probably for the next one to do something different, it will be a novel, which will give some contrast to, what I've done so far. I do also have an idea for a short story that I'd like to submit to some of the larger contests out there, like it's escaping me right now, but there's a couple of really large ones that would get some name recognition out there, so I'm going to go for that next.
Do you foresee kind of sticking with your cast of characters or breaking into a whole new universe of characters?
Both. In the next story, I definitely will be writing a sequel involving the same characters, but I have thoughts already for an entirely different group.
So, let me think of how to frame this question. I guess, coming from a background of law, or being a dean or associate dean,
Yeah.
Deciding to become an author or publish your work affected your professional life or affected that world in any way, shape, or form? Like, what's it like for somebody to step out of a very kind of serious environment and do something that's risky? How do people view that?
So far, most of the people at my work have been supportive. They think it's interesting. I think the view, and I've seen this comment on LinkedIn, which is sort of the adult version of Facebook, is, wow, you're actually pursuing your dreams. Like, that's surprising. Most people don't do that. Well, I mean, it's what we should be doing. If we're interested in something and like something, we should chase it. And I've even had people on LinkedIn say, wow, I never thought I'd be on LinkedIn and see someone telling me about a sci-fi book, but I love it, and so.
That's awesome. It's an audience you probably wouldn't reach had you gone just like the normal author route.
That's correct.
That's a good audience to have. Well, do you have any other things you'd like to add to?
Well, right now we're just getting the word out on the books. If you're interested, you can certainly find them at your local bookstore, Magic City here in Tulsa, otherwise Amazon. I hope that people will read them, do enjoy them. Please reach out to me on my blog as well, which is www.thetimtales.com.
Awesome.
And thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
All right.